Oh, Edwin, are you still there?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I think we're ready to go.
Well, all right. Well, let me know when you're recording, and I'll go ahead and start the process.
All right, recording is in process.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Hospital Quality Incentive Payment Program training for the data collection tool and for the 2020 program. You know, folks are going to be still kind of beeping in for the next minute or two. We do remind folks we're going to have probably a lot of attendees here, so please make sure your phones are on mute. If you're not speaking, make sure that your computer speakers are muted, especially if you're on the phone and the computer. That's where we get some of that feedback from. And just to make it a little bit more manageable for us today, if you do have a question, make sure that your questions are put into the chat box. And what we'll do is, as we hit each section and kind of get to the end of each section, I'll take a pause, take a look at the chat box, and we'll take the questions in the order that they are received. And if we could go to the next slide, Edwin, that would be great. So just what we're going to talk about today, what all we have in store is I do want to talk a little bit, just again, a little bit of background on the program. Then I want to jump in and give a department update around our plans for 2020, and then talk about what that timeline is going to look like for everyone. That'll be kind of the first half of what we'll do today, and then as we head in, well, the first piece of what we're going to do, and then we're going to head into more of a nuts and bolts kind of hands-on tutorial with the data collection tool. So with that, we'll talk through the different pieces, the survey submission process, the user roles, assessing the application's features. We're going to do that with screenshots. So we're going to walk you through every component of the data collection tool. And then at that point in time, after we go through that, we're going to switch over to a live demo and show you kind of how it works live. Then we want to wrap up today with talking about a new process that's in place around scoring, review, and reconsideration process. And that's where we'll wrap up our day today. Me and Edwin, I'm not sure, maybe everybody will get on here soon. There's a way to have the entry and exit to be silent. That'll probably be really helpful for us.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. All right, can you go to the next slide, please? So just quickly in terms of our program background, this is enabled legislation. It's actually kind of like a tangent with under the Colorado Healthcare Affordability and Sustainability Enterprise through the Provider Fee Program. This is one of those supplemental payments. So we find it under Section 25.5, 402.3. And it's really that one of our supplemental payments needs to be driving and incentivizing quality. The way it works is we work all up each person's performance, and we score that, and that's where the payments come from. Back in 2017, we did contract with the Public Consulting Group, and they had kind of two roles for this program. One is to work with the department and the subcommittee in terms of developing and customizing those quality measures for the program, and really focusing on the areas that are most critical to the healthcare quality issues facing Colorado and our hospitals and the Medicaid population. In addition, CCG also develops the web-based data collection tool, kind of the big piece of why we're here today. And that really, we did an online survey before. We've done some paper surveys way back in the past. This really is a data collection portal for you to be able to go in there and collect the data related around the measures, help us to calculate that scoring for you all, and then be able to calculate payments. You can go to the next slide, please. Edwin, thank you, sir. Again, folks, make sure your speakers are on mute. So here's kind of the big thing I really want to focus in on and make sure everybody follows clearly here today. So we've got a big update in terms of what HQIP means for 2020. We do understand we have a pandemic on our hands, and a lot of our resources, and especially with our hospitals, are really focused in on that. We appreciate that, and thank you all for the work you do to keep us all safe and healthy. And so in consideration of that, we want to find a way to be reasonable, thoughtful, and considerate of that, while at the same time finding a solution to be able to get these payment dollars out, $90+ million to hospitals here through this incentive payment. So in response to the pandemic, here's what we're going to do for HQIP in 2020. The data collection tool is going to open on May 1st as scheduled. But instead of only being open from May 1st to May 31st, we are going to keep that data collection tool open until June 30th, providing 60 days for you to go in there and submit your information around your measures. In addition to that extended time period, we've also made a decision that hospitals will only self-report on measures that have existed in the program that aren't new measures for 2020. So anything that was an already existing measure that was in 2019 or before are still there, still going to be reported on, but those will be the only measures that hospitals are going to report on. We know with the new measures, a lot of the work you were all doing kind of came to a screeching halt in late January, early February. The Department, Healthcare Policy and Financing, will still pull all of our measures that we were, that either are claims-based or we were pulling from another data source where the hospital, the department was collecting that information. We will still pull all of those measures since there was no administrative task associated for the hospitals on those particular measures. All new hospital self-reported measures will be postponed in 2020 and postponed until 2021, where the program will be implemented as it was approved with the CHAPE board for the 2021 measures. So we won't be making changes to what was already approved for 2021 at this point in time, where we haven't made a decision on that. Right now, the decision is that 2021 will remain as it was. And we just have a bit of delay here on a couple of measures that were intended to be implemented here in 2020. So that will change the total number of points available in the program. So what we are going to do, instead of trying to re-score measures and give them different point values, they will all keep their exact point values. We will then look at the total number of points that do remain in the program, and whatever score you get as a percentage of those, we will normalize that up to 100 points, so everyone will still get a score out of 100. That'll still fall into those tier buckets that we have in regulation in terms of the dollar per adjusted discharge add-ons. We can go to the next slide, please. So what measures, what does that mean? So which measures are going to be in the program for 2020? Which ones will be a combination of ones that you'll self-report and ones that the department will pull the information for? Well, under the first measure group, the maternal health and perinatal care measure group, for those hospitals that do labor and delivery, have OB services, the exclusive breastfeeding measures of self-report, that'll still be in place. The C-section measures of self-report, that'll still be in place. Perinatal depression and anxiety is a hospital self-report that's still in place. Maternal emergencies and preparedness. I apologize, folks. Please make sure your phones and computers are on mute unless you have a particular question at this time. Thank you. Maternal emergencies and preparedness, that's a self-report, and the department does pull some data around that, but really the measure that's scored is around the self-reporting. Reproductive life and family planning is a self-report, as well as department pooled information. Again, the score around that measure is kind of driven by the self-reporting, so it's still going to be in play. And then incidence of episiotomy, that actually is a new measure for 2020, but that is a claims-based measure that the department will pull the information on, so that measure will remain for 2020. Just kind of a look back to the previous year. Into the second measure group, patient safety measure group, we have 3 measures still in place. The hospital acquired Clostridium difficile, or C. diff infections. That is a measure that we pull at the department, so we'll still do that. Adverse event reporting is a self-reported measure. You'll still be responsible for that. Culture of safety survey as well. And then the third measure group, the patient experience measure group, there's HQIP composites 5 through 7. That is information that the department does obtain. So the hospitals aren't responsible for pulling in that data. That'll still be in place. And then the advanced care planning measure is a hospital self-reported measure that will still be in the program. So those are kind of basically the similar program that you saw last year and many of these measures from previous years before. We can go to the next slide. So what are we postponing for 2020 that was intended to be put in this year? Well, the first was the reduction of parapartum racial and ethnic disparities. That's the patient safety bundle. Required a lot of process of care changes within the hospital. We know folks have been working really hard around some of this, but not all to be able to get that all the way put in place. We were postponing that measure. The sepsis measure, another kind of process of care, delivery of care measures in place. We are suspending that for 2020. Antibiotic stewardship was a new measure in partnership with CDPHE, looking at that honor roll type of model. It's going to be a new measure. Again, a lot of process build out there required from the hospitals. As important as all these things are, even considering the current pandemic, we know that just the administrative burden of trying to finish putting these things in place and reporting this year would be a hardship, to say the least. So, and then handoffs and sign-outs, another measure that we have, we're really excited about. We think it's really important. But we know that there's a big lift there because it being a brand new year for a measure and a lot of things that were not in place, folks are having to put in. So we know that a lot of you have done a lot of work around these measures, and we're proud of that. These measures aren't going away. They're coming back. So the work you've done just gives you a little bit more time now between now and next time around, you know. Hopefully we have a newer normal here sooner rather than later, and all that work you've done is not for naught. It keeps driving you to set you up for better success when we get to the 2021 measures that will include these. So I don't know if we have another slide there before we hit our next section. Yep, let's talk about our timeline there. So what does this all mean? So let's talk through the whole timeline of when everything's going to be due and done. So again, we're going to open that data collection tool on May 1st, but that will not close until June 30th. 60 days for you to complete the data collection tool. At that point in time, it does take us a little while to be able to turn around the scoring, considering, you know, a lot of the narrative and process things and documentation that's involved. So the department anticipates that we will have the preliminary scores out to you all by August 28th. With this year, we'll talk about this when we wrap up today. I'll just give a little preview of that now, is we are implementing a scoring review and reconsideration period. So what we're going to do is make those preliminary scores, our initial scores that come out of our team, go out to the hospitals, and if you think there was a measure that was scored in error or there's an error in our scoring, you have a chance to be able to ask us to review and reconsider that. And so that period is anticipated to last about 21 days. Like I said, we'll talk about this in more detail when we wrap up today. But we expect that the scoring review and reconsideration period will end September 18th. We do have within the program requirements on-site reviews. Those are certainly pending for us. They're scheduled to happen right there towards that middle part of September. We're just going to keep our eyes. We're not going to put anyone into a health facility that doesn't need to be there, if that's still the case. And so when you see pending there, that's the consideration that we're making. If, you know, hospitals and economies and everything's opened up and everyone has a safe environment to be able to do that, then we'll still consider those on-site reviews, being that it's September. But also being that we don't know and every day's fluid, we're going to keep that kind of on the board. And again, we'll either come up with an alternative, a virtual way to do that on-site review so that someone doesn't have to come to the facility, or think of some other alternatives as we need to. So we'll continue to keep you updated on that as we get closer to that time period. And then we wrap up, and by middle of October, we will send those final scoring letters out to the hospital so you know what your final scores are for the HQIP program. And do we have another slide there, Edwin? Let's see.
Now we go into the data collection tool.
Great. Okay. So we can go ahead and go to that slide, but before I hand the floor over to me and the PCG team, want to see if everyone has any questions at this point. This is a good juncture to understand kind of the changes that we're making in response to COVID for the 2020 HQIP, and if anyone has any questions at this point in time that I can help answer, we'll take some of those around the requirements and the timeline now. If you don't mind, you can unmute if you like, but probably the easiest way will be for you to just enter those questions into the chat box. Okay, hopefully it's making sense to folks. And of course, this is your only chance to ask questions. If you have any other time, don't hesitate to reach out to us directly with any questions that you have. So at this point, take a time to the nitty-gritty of how this tool works. Got the Samia and Edwin and the team from Public Consulting Group have been working hard to pull all this together, and I think we got a really nice tool. I appreciate all your feedback from all of you that participated used the tool last year. We continuously try to learn and make it better, make the user experience better. And I want to thank those folks that served as beta testers. We had a number of folks from facilities that actually went in and beta tested and tried to break the tool, and I got some really good feedback and comments from them, and had some tweaks we were able to make from that. So we really appreciate you taking the time to be able to beta test and make this as user-friendly and as solid as we can make it. So with that, Mia, Edwin, I will turn the floor over to you, and let's walk through some screenshots of all the components of the data collection tool, and then we'll be able to go into the demo after that.
Great. Thanks, Matt. So good afternoon, everyone. We'll be covering different components of the DCT in the next few slides. So for many of you who have completed the HQIP survey before and are already familiar with this, this might be a quick refresher for you. We have these slides along with the instructions manual available on the HQIP website, and we'll be posting the recording soon after this webinar. If you do have any questions, please enter them into the chat box, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. Next slide, Emma. So this chart outlines the survey submission process. You'll log into the portal, select 2020 as your fiscal year, select your facility on the dashboard, access and complete the HQIP provider survey, submit the survey on the survey summary page, and then have a hospital executive complete attestation on the survey confirmation and submission page by June 30th. Just one thing to note, the survey submission will not be considered complete if attestation is not completed by a hospital executive. Once all the surveys have been completed, we will start scoring and have finalized scores entered into the portal for you to view through the evaluation detail report and the score summary report. So did someone have a question or comment? Okay. So we'll be discussing each of these. I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm sure you're drinking enough too, because it is hot. Yeah.
Oh, folks, I just want to make sure folks have their phones on mute. Unless someone has a question there.
What do you do?
I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone, and then...
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Okay. So we'll be discussing each of the components in the next few slides. So user roles. This portal has 3 different user roles: application admin, and provider participant. If you indicated that you're the primary contact for your hospital, you've been registered as a provider admin. This role isn't too different from the provider participant role. It just allows you to add additional users and make any edits to your facility information. Accessing the application. So we'll have everyone registered in the portal by tomorrow, and we'll be sending out the link to the portal. If you're a new user, you'll be receiving a welcome email with a temporary password. And you'll use that temporary password to log in and finish your account setup on this page here. If you've logged in the past and already have an existing account, you can use the same login credentials. If you're ever locked out of your account or forget your password, you can always use the Forgot Password button to log in. When logging into the portal, we recommend using Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox just because we've seen some issues occur when Internet Explorer is used. Application dashboard. Once you log in, the dashboard will be a landing page where you'll see 5 different pages. One thing to note is that you'll have to select a facility in the drop-down bar in order for the survey page to appear. Application pages. We have this slide in here for you to reference what each of these pages are for, and I'll go through each of them in the next few slides. User management page. If you are a provider admin, you can go to this page and select the Select User dropdown to add users for your facility if there's anyone else that will need to complete the survey. You'll enter in all the contact information here and click Add New User. Provider management page. Information for your hospital on this page should already be populated, but you can make any edits to the facility information in these highlighted fields here. HQIP Provider Survey. So this page is the main data collection tool where you'll complete a series of questions for each measure. Since this is a conditional logic-based questionnaire and each response to a question determines which question comes next, you won't be able to jump around. Next slide. Questions where you need to upload supporting documents will have an upload icon to the right of the question that you can click and upload files. All uploaded documents will appear on the bottom of the page in chronological order by question. You will be able to view all the files you uploaded for all the completed questions here. If you click on the link next to measure details, you should be able to view additional information on the measure for this session. Next slide. HQIP Provider Survey Summary. This page will allow you to view all the measures and track your progress on the survey. Again, you cannot select a hyperlinked question if it's not unlocked, meaning you will need to answer a series of questions before you can access it. The last question on the survey will prompt you to navigate back to this page, or you'll have to click the Submit button under your Survey Submission tab once you've completed the survey. Next slide. Once you click Submit, the survey confirmation submission page will appear on the dashboard. A hospital executive will need to review the survey and attest that the information submitted is complete and accurate. There will be a couple ways that they can actually view the survey. There is a link on the page, and clicking it will have them navigated to the evaluation detail report, where they can review the survey on one document. Or they can go back to the HQIP Provider Survey Summary page and go through the survey page. Next slide. Reports page. There will be two different types of reports that are generated. The evaluation detail report includes all the survey questions and responses and the scores as well. And the score summary report provides information on who submitted and attested the survey and the total score achieved. The scores will not be available until the survey is scored. These reports can be downloaded and printed as well. We recommend downloading in an Excel format since it's easier to view it that way. Okay. So during this demo, I'll walk through the process of completing and submitting the survey and also point out the different features that I discussed.
Hi, Tamia. This is Matt. Thank you for going through that. And I'll just kind of jump in as you're getting the demo to come up. Just reminding folks of that big button there for your file download on each page and little things like that you'll be able to see when we go through the demo here of the little functionalities we'll make sure you're aware of. And I think that important one that Tamia was just talking about was when that attestation goes, that submit is to submitting that the data collection piece, when it goes to your executive to be able to attest to the survey, to be able to use those reports. Because otherwise, if you kind of just go into the summary, they literally would have to kind of walk through the entire data collection tool and each question to be able to see the responses to do a check for you all. So those reports are going to be really, really helpful for your folks that are doing your final review as well. So I think I want to underscore the importance of having that capability so you can go in there, especially your attesting executives, so they have a little easier time doing that review. And we'll be able to see some of that, I think, through the demo as well. So it looks like you're all set, Tamia, so I'll turn the floor back over to you.
Okay, sounds good. So I have my username and password entered in here. I'll log in into the portal. And then I'm going to select 2020 as a fiscal year. I'm going to select the facility that I'm associated with, and the HQIP Provider Survey will appear. So I'll click on the survey to get started. And there are a few things to note. So there is a single question on every page. You can go back to every question, but you will not be able to move forward until you respond to the question on the page. So it will kind of flag it. Clicking the next button will automatically save your answer for the question. You can exit out of the survey and you'll be able to jump back into the question you left off. There is a link next to measure details. That will be a pop-up and will provide more information and details about the measure in this question. Clicking on the summary page, you'll see 3 measure groups. And then clicking on the measure, we'll see the submeasures. And then within the submeasures, we'll see the questions, the points available, and then the assignments. This page just helps you keep track of your progression indicated by the color key on the top right here. So once the survey has been completed, the entire survey will appear light green. So these two measure groups have been completed, so they're light green, and this one's still in progress, so it's red. So I'll demonstrate how to upload a document, complete the last few questions, and submit the survey. So going back to one of the questions that require upload, to upload a file, we'll click on this icon right here to the right of this question. I'm going to select the file that I want to upload. And then click Upload Document.
Great. And as we're watching that happen, Sonia, I know we have a question that came through, and I think it's right there on our other page. When we go back, we can take a look at it, of what file types or required formats are required for uploadable documents.
Oh, sure. So they can be PDF, a Word doc, JPEG, and I think an Excel file as well. So I'll be acceptable. Okay, so all the uploaded files for the questions will appear on the bottom of this page, and you can edit and delete any of these files here. And so exiting out of this, all the uploaded files will also appear on the bottom of the page here for the questions that require upload, again in chronological order. Okay, so were there any other questions regarding the upload feature? Okay. So I'm going to go back to measure 3 and complete the last few questions. I'm just going to answer these questions, put in answers. Okay, so once you make it to the last question, it will allow you to check the box and navigate back to the survey summary page. Well, actually, we'll click Save. Click the summary page. And then whenever you're ready to submit, you'll click Survey Submission and click Submit. So once you click Submit, you won't be able to go back and change your responses. Okay, going back to the dashboard, the survey confirmation.
Sonia, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Matt. I think when we were looking, because I said, I wanted to highlight, there's that big icon that says upload a document here. That's where you go to upload a document. Does that only show up on the questions that require a document to be uploaded, or is that on every question? And if it is there something that clearly defines when a document needs to be required to be uploaded for a question?
Yeah, so this icon will only appear on the questions that do require an upload. And if there is no document that's been uploaded, it will let you move past this question, or whichever question you're on.
Great. Can we take a look at that again real fast?
Yeah. So all the questions have been submitted.
Okay, never mind. But so folks, it's just when you see that little inbox right there, if you look kind of to the right there, it says click the icon below to upload documents. You will only see that if a document is required for that measure. If a document is not required or an upload is not required, you will not see that icon right there to the right of the question. So when you see that, that's a big screaming flag that I've got to upload a document, and actually it won't even let you go past that question to the next question unless you do. Thanks, Sonia. Sorry to interrupt. I thought it was a good time to be able to hit that before we move to the next step.
Oh yeah, no, that was awful. Okay, so going back to the dashboard, the next step would be to complete attestation. So you're going to click on Survey Confirmation Submission. And a hospital executive will then have to complete this attestation class right here. And they can review the entire HQIP survey by clicking this link right here. And it will take them to the evaluation detail report. So they'll just click their facility, the year, and it'll generate the report all in one file. They can also access this on the reports page by clicking evaluation detail report. So I'll talk about this for a second. So there's a flash drive icon on the top of the page. You can download it in any of these formats. Again, we recommend downloading it in the Excel format. It's easier to view it that way. If we do normalize your score for a certain measure, we will be overwriting it in the portal, so you'll see the total score as well as your override score on this report on the bottom right here. And I'm going back.
Tamia, I think we're getting just a little bit of lag. I haven't seen it populate on my screen just yet.
Oh.
There we go.
Yep.
Maybe we can take we can rewind the tape maybe 20 seconds or so and kind of hit the things that you were talking about there.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the evaluation detail report, and the icon, the flash drive icon, will allow you to export the report in any of these formats. Does anyone have any questions on this report and how to download it? Okay. So going back to the report list, there's also
I'm sorry, Tamia, this is Matt. I'll just say, folks, on the line there that this is something, again, that I want to underscore the importance of, particularly for your folks that are kind of doing a final review for you. This is a great resource. You can download this. You can export it out to Excel. But this will show you how you responded to every question, so you can kind of just scroll through it, and then you don't have to, like, go through the data collection tool, through all that skip logic and everything to be able to check your answers. You can have it in one place. So I think this is a really nice tool for you to be able to have. And if you have any questions about how to get to it or access it, reach out to us, because I think it's going to be really helpful for your folks.
Okay, thanks, Matt. So back to the report list. The other report is the score summary report. So select from the fiscal year, it will generate your report. And this will just show you who submitted and attested the report or the survey, and then the total points assigned when it does become available. And again, we'll also be sending out an in-depth scoring report to the contacts that submitted and attested the survey to accompany this report by mid-October. All right, so this concludes the demo portion. Are there any questions that I can answer before I pass it off to Matt?
Thanks, Tamia. I mean, I'll take a few minutes. I think I see some questions going in. I put some answers out there. I think I'll go ahead and revisit some of the questions that we have had asked and kind of please through those and kind of walk through those in order, even with the responses, just to make sure that everyone can, if you're not able to see those, make sure you are hearing it. Let me just scroll up and kind of take it in order what we have now. Let's see here. Go back to the top here. I apologize, I'm having just a little technical difficulties. Okay, so how are the hospitals that do not have OB or deliveries mark their scores, and how would they be scored? Tamia may have been able to show there, but I think we've added a question early on now that asks you if you have OB or deliveries and labor delivery. Thanks, Tamia, pointing that up. And then there'll be a subsequent question if you say no, that, ask for some documentation explanation of that, just to prove that case. And if that is the case, we will be normalizing. So we'll just take a look at the measures that you do qualify for, and what was your percentage of points out of the total points available for the measures that you did qualify for, and then we'll normalize that up to 100 points. That's consistent with what we've done in previous years. What's nice in the tool here is that you're going to ask that question, And instead of having to say, no, I don't qualify for every single one of those paternal measures, it will skip you over those. The next question we had was, will the items that are being pushed back to 2021 be the same as they are currently in 2020 or different? The measures, right now we have approved measures for 2021. And those were approved by the Chase Board. And so as we stand today, what will be in 2021 will be the measures as were approved by that board. So where we were going to use 2020 as kind of a stepping stone to 2021, right now, you've already been doing work around that this year, but we just won't be scoring on those and making you finish out that. But we would think that we would just move into 2021. That being said, we will certainly reconvene with the subcommittee as we get a little closer, as well as consultation with the Chase Board, to be able to take a look, and our teams will be taking a look kind of measure by measure to see if that makes sense to go directly and just keep on our cadence with our 2021 measures, or if we need to make any accommodations on any measures. But as of right now, we haven't made any decisions on those, but we will be having those conversations. Again, we did touch on the uploads piece. In terms of the file format, Excel, PDF, Word docs, JPEGs can all be uploaded. The next question is, will be a 2020 HQIP survey document similar to last year? Yes, there will be. I think those were all sent out with the invite for this meeting and for anyone who we had in our contact list. So we sent out a message that said, here's where the slides are and the information for this training on the webpage. But attached to that email was the conditional logic questions, that Word document that walks you through that. If you did not get that email or if you get that document, you can reach out directly to me or to Joe Sakia as well. And we'll certainly get those documents to you just as quickly as we can. And I think we just answered on the maternal measures how it's HQIP. We did add a question there to make that a little bit easier for you folks there. And I think I have to follow up, maybe touch base with me offline in terms of working with the evaluation detail report as a blank document. I don't know. So, Nia, do you know off the top of your head if they went in before they did anything else and did evaluation detail report and then exported it to Excel, it would just populate all the question names but no answers, and someone could potentially use that to fill in answers as well?
Yeah, that would be good. Okay. Access the evaluation detail report at any time. I know if they don't answer any of the questions on the survey, it'll appear blank.
Great. So, so if you didn't catch that, folks, you can go in before you've answered anything, and you can export that evaluation detail report into Excel. You can save it as something you like, and if you want to fill in some answers there to cross-check later, go for it. I think that's certainly something that you could do. How do we determine the report formatting and criteria for measures that require uploads? Generally, on the uploads, we're going to be specific about what we need uploaded. You'll see that. But as long as you're meeting the minimum requirement in terms of the information, there is no particular formatting. If we haven't provided a template or a tool or anything like that, then it's the documentation that you provide. And I think that flows a little bit into another question, what type of documentation is required to confirm that we do not do non-emergent deliveries. That'll be, I think we put a narrative box in there for you to explain, and we'll leave that to you all. Again, when you're attesting to this, you are attesting that you are providing true and complete information to the best of your knowledge, with the potential risk of committing Medicaid fraud if you were not truthful there. So that stick's probably pretty big enough that we're not going to have you send in legal documents and a bunch of other things. We're going to have you working in good faith with that attestation that you are doing so. And again, so when we state when we speak getting access to a data collection tool, our plan, to me, if I'm wrong, is to have everyone set up by the last day of this month, tomorrow, or the 31st, and then we go live on the 1st, right? So you can talk a little bit about kind of the next steps on that process.
Yes. So tomorrow our plan is to mass register all the new users. People that already have existing accounts can still access the portal. They just won't be able to see the HQIP survey, the survey summary pages until the 1st. So if
okay, great. So those bars actually won't populate until it goes live.
Exactly. Yes. And if they are a new user, they'll receive a welcome email with their temporary password and a link to the portal by tomorrow.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions, folks, we can address in terms of those kind of logistics and operations around the data collection tool, timing, and everything we've covered so far before I pivot and talk about the review and reconsideration period? Okay, we have a question come in. How does the executive attest? On the same computer page that the administrator is using, is there a link to send the executive to complete the attestation? Samia, is that an email that goes as soon as they hit that submit button, or how does that work for folks? Once I'm in there and I'm the quality person who's assigned to fill this thing in, and I get all the information in and I hit submit. Now it needs to go to an executive. How does it get there? Where do they need to go? Can you talk through that a little bit more?
Sure. So there isn't actually an email that automatically sends whenever you click submit. So once you click submit on the survey summary page here, this page right here, the survey confirmation and submission page will appear.
It's not quite up for us just yet, so I apologize.
Okay, sorry. Definitely a lag.
There we go. We're up now. So I can see the survey confirmation submission button. So that's a different button than when I'm on my last question, I finish the survey, there's a question in there that says submit. Is that correct? And then that populates this other button on this main page.
So the last question on the survey will tell them to navigate back to the summary. So on the summary page, they will have to click the submit button, and there's the survey submission tab. And if they don't click submit, other survey confirmation and submission page will appear.
Okay, so let's kind of go through that. Looks like you probably did click on that. We're just waiting for it. So I'll finish the survey. It'll tell me in the last piece, hey, go back to the survey summary page because that's where you have to actually submit the survey. I go back to that main page, click on that, and that's where I submit, and then that will populate an additional button for the attestation. Did I get that correct?
Correct, yes. It'll populate this page right here.
Okay, I don't think we're still kind of waiting on it a little bit. There we go. So I see survey confirmation submission. There it is in blue. You'll hit that. Maybe everyone else is seeing it. We're not getting to the next one just yet. You know, I'm sure that us and 300 other million people are on the internet right now using some sort of webinar. Yeah, still waiting for it to populate.
Okay.
If you can see this clearly here, folks, the survey confirmation submission. Now, when I say you click there, is that where the executive needs to be clicking, Simeon, to be able to go into a test?
Yes.
Okay. So and I think the larger question is, how does that executive get here to be able to go into that? Is that our account? And I think we could talk a little bit about that. I think we hit down a little bit earlier where folks are able to assign different users, or how do we get the executive here to this page? What's the best way for folks to do that?
Sure. There's a couple ways. So if an executive wants their own account, whoever submitted the survey can create an account for them on this user management page. I'm not sure if there's a lag, but you would just, put in all the
It looks okay. We're good.
Okay, great. So you'll just fill out all the information, create a temporary password, click the facility that they're associated with, and then click add new user. So it won't let me add myself again because I already exist. But if they just click add new user, they should be able to assign account to their hospital executive. And if they do that, they would be able to log in, get their account set up with that temporary password, and then be able to access this. They can also access this if they want to log in using whoever submitted the survey account.
Okay, great. So
open for them.
Great. So, folks, to kind of summarize that a little bit is you kind of have two ways. One would be to go into that user information and create a user account for your executive, and then they'll have kind of access to be able to look at everything if they need to there, which is kind of good, and then they will get a dedicated temporary password to go set up their own account with their own password. So that way they can go in wherever they like. Your alternative that Samir was talking about is to whoever's filling that in and has that user account, if they want to share that account information with their executive, you follow what your policies and protocols allow you to do within your information systems within your hospital, but kind of the two ways you can go about doing that. It says the hospital executive classified as a chief nursing officer or higher. It's tough to just do titles because we know depending on the system and the hospital and where it is that different titles mean different things. But it's at the end of the day is what executive wants to attest that they've been able to review and sign off of it so that we know that there is leadership around this program that is aware that it's been done and has reviewed and is attesting that it is all true and accurate to the best of their information. So whoever is the most appropriate to be able to take on that accountability and responsibility for your hospital is who you need to have there. But generally it is C-suite. If possible, we see, quality directors and things also, depending on the hospital, could be that lead person over that who's taking responsibility and accountability for the accuracy and validity of that information being submitted on behalf of the hospital. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, not seeing any other questions at this point in time, but keep them coming in as you have them, though. We have a few more minutes, but I guess we can go ahead and switch over and talk a little bit around the next piece of our conversation today around the review and reconsideration process. Thank you, Edwin. So, folks, something we've added here, which I think is a really nice feature. It's really something to, again, we're trying to always constantly improve not only our tools, but our processes and our accuracy in our reviews. So we've done a lot of internally to making sure that our QA is world class on the elements, but we know that still sometimes, mistakes happen. And how do we build in reinforcement mechanisms to make sure that at the end of the day, we're scoring you, you earn the points that you do deserve. We're not in the business of trying to find places to cut points. We want to award points and recognize folks for the work that they do and not have sometimes some technical things result in scores that aren't accurate. So what are we doing? For the 2020 program year, we will be putting in a formalized 21 calendar day period for hospitals to review their preliminary score. So again, I said, that on October 28th is when we anticipate entering into the data collection tool the reviewer score. So the reviewers are going to go through question by question, looking at the documentation, saying whether it hit the score or not, looking at it in terms of the tiers, where do we think that landed, and put that preliminary score out. Those scores will be available in the data collection tool. So some of those shots that Samia was showing you on those summary pages where it said assigned score, and it was blank, that's where you'll see the score that was assigned by the reviewer. So we'll send out an email to everyone that says your preliminary scores are now ready to be reviewed. You go into that data collection tool and review those scores. What you can do is if you see any place where you think there's an instance where you believe the preliminary score for any measures may be in error, you can then request that the department review and reconsider those scores. And let's go to the next page there. Edwin, the next slide. Thank you. And again, that will begin on August 28th is when we anticipate those preliminary scores being made, and then you being able to have those 21 days to be able to review and reconsider that process. I think I'm getting just a touch of lag here for folks, so I'll wait a second for populate for everyone to see. There we go. So for again, for this year coming up, we anticipate that that'll be the 21 days will end on September 18th, 2020. So you'll have from October 28th to September 18th to do that. What we will ensure, depending on whenever the date you get the preliminary scores, we will ensure that there's 21 calendar days and 15 business days for you to review your HQIP scores and request any applicable reconsideration. Similar with how CMS does some of these things and we do with other programs, during this time we will not be accepting additional documentation or narrative or changes to answers. We are just reviewing that there's a potential misdocumentation, didn't interpret it correctly, or scored the measure incorrectly. We will review those reconsideration requests, and we will do that on a case-by-case basis. Everyone that comes in will be reviewed individually. We'll send it back to our review team. It will then come to my team here at the department, and then we will review that subsequent review, see if we agree, and we'll make a decision upon that reconsideration. Once that decision has been made, we will send that reconsideration decision letter to the hospital staff and CFO. If we choose to deny a reconsideration or do not agree with it, we will certainly be pulling in and escalating that for higher levels of involvement from our leadership as well. When you do get that final letter, it's not the complete end of the road. If you do wish to protest that decision that the department made, you should do so immediately. And that will allow us to escalate that to a higher level leadership, and we'll be able to make final judgments on that ideally before September 29th is our goal there with that. So again, it kind of is a twofold thing. It's one more look. It's a chance for you to be able to look at those scores so that you don't always get to see how we score it. You're attesting to the information you presented, but we really haven't had a process there for you to say you're agreeing with the scores or finding where you see where there may be potential errors. And we know that's happened. And so as best as we're improving our processes so they don't happen, we want to still ensure that you have that process to be able to review and ask for us to review and reconsider questions where you think we missed documentation or we scored an error. And so we want to put that in place. And the twofold piece of that is it also gives us a fixed amount of time to do that and formalizes that process so that, so somebody doesn't see something 4 months later and it says, I want to reconsider this. We want to make it clear and apparent this is a time period for that so that we can make sure that we get the program finalized, get scores accurately, get payments calculated, and get those payments out the door to you all just as quickly as we can. So I'll pause there, see if anyone has any questions around the 2020 scoring review and reconsideration process. Hopefully that is making sense to you all, and it'll be nice to have a formal process to know that you have something that's in place and you can be able to follow and a time period and a mechanism to be able to do that. And maybe some contact information. So I will just take one more chance to say, so folks, excited, we're going to give you, we know you have a lot going on. We're going to give 60 days to get this thing completed. The tool, I think, is getting better and better. I think it's the usability there and the logic's pretty good. As we saw, there's also that conditional logic document that went out with the email showing you where the slides were on the web page. If you didn't get that conditional logic document, then and know that all new measures that will be self-reported have been removed from the program for 2020, only doing existing measures that you're going to self-report on, and the department's going to keep pulling the measures that we do. We'll normalize your scores, make sure everyone still gets a score out of 100. If you're not doing OB and delivery, and you're testing to that, we will normalize those scores as well, just like we've done in the past. So thank you all so much for your time today. Of course, this isn't, oh, let's see, I had one more question. I'm sorry. So how will the data provided by HQIP be available? How do we access the data? We pull that data. We will let you know where your score is. I think when we push that scoring letter out, Samia, that we do populate it with the department's data. I don't want to speak out of turn there, but I think that is correct.
We do, yes.
Yep. So you'll see it when we send those preliminary scores out. And but you don't have to worry about getting the data, accessing it, putting it into this data collection tool. When you get to one of those questions, it's going to say, this measure is, data is pulled by the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing. There's no need for you to submit anything here, and then click next. Let's see, I had one other question. How are the reconsideration requests done if no additional documentation or narratives can be submitted? Well, the idea is that we scored a measure and said, you know, for instance, you didn't get the points here because you didn't have the documentation, or you didn't get something here and it was an error. That's what we're really talking about here. Excuse me, one final check on that, because we have had instances in the past where, and you know, and sometimes we've missed it, and sometimes a document was uploaded as documentation and it was assigned the wrong measure number to it, and they ended up putting two pieces of documentation under one measure and no documentation under another. And so in that case, the documentation was present, nothing new was submitted, it was just somewhere else. And the provider was able to go, oh, I'm so sorry, I'd love to clarify, that's actually, I put the wrong label on that one when I uploaded it. You can see it clearly there. We go back, we look, oh, yep, there it is. Okay, we'll change the score. You know, things like that is what we're talking about, where there's been an error. And it's not, oh, I really had this, but I didn't submit the documentation, now I want to do it later. That will not be allowed. Okay. Any other questions, folks? Well, again, I thank you all for taking the time. I know you're all super busy, so I want to be conscious of that and let you get back to all the work that you do have going on. But I hope you found this valuable. I know we certainly do in terms of pulling it together to make sure that we're updating you on what's expected for this year. We know it's a little different, and that you really are comfortable using the tool, and that it's a good tool for you to use, and that we're giving you time to be able to get that done, and also time to be able to take another look at those preliminary scores. So good luck to everyone. Hope you all score really well around HQIP, and thank you all much for your time today. We'll have a lovely rest of your day. Be safe, stay well, be kind, and we'll talk to you all and hopefully see you all again in person again sooner rather than later. Thank you all so much. Have a good day, everyone.